expect more of digital now since most of the candidates have their own respective digital teams.
The concern there was not so much what they said on social media, but in how much money they could hide in social media.
The power of social media is undeniable. Now politicians are capitalizing on it, especially during elections. I'm Ruth Cabal. This is On the Record. And joining us in this episode, we have Tonyo Cruz, a blogger and columnist at the Manila Bulletin. Also joining us live here in the studio is PJ Tanglao, a first-time voter and member of Akbayan Youth. And later on the phone, we speak to Commission on Elections spokesperson James Jimenez. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Evening.
Okay, going back to 2016, the presidential elections, it was hailed by a lot of people as the first parang social media elections in the Philippines. So now, 2019, we have just midterm elections, walang boboto for president. But how do you see yung role ng social media with the May polls, Tonyo?
I think we won't move away from what's happening outside of social media. Social media refers to two things. Like, first, it's a set of media tools that are available for politicians, candidates, and the public, and even media. And then the second part about social media is that it's also an arena. Things happen online, or things are made to happen online. So how the candidates, the different interest groups, businessmen, and the public would see social media, we have to sit back for a moment and take a look who's most prepared. Right now, well, for the past two to 3 years, it is the administration that is most prepared, and they are taking full advantage of both legacy or traditional media and digital. So we have yet to see trailblazing attempts to make social media and the elections in general a little bit more level or even for all the participants.
Pero kasi nga, di ba, parang ito yung pinakamagandang medium kasi it's, you know, somewhat free or cheaper than the traditional political ads like you see on TV or...
Yes, I agree somewhat, but Philippine elections are not held online.
Yeah.
And Philippine elections, up until today, they're dominated by guns, and gold. And it's the same thing somewhat online. For guns, you could get libel suits, you could get harassment suits. Goons, there are trolls. There are entire armies of trolls. And for gold, there's dirty money that go into influencers, Facebook groups, and other entities online that wish to portray their candidate as leader. So there's a good example presented by PCIJ. One of the poorest candidates is actually spending, is the highest spender.
For the TV ads.
Both online and offline. And although this candidate has the smallest footprint digitally, he's the most talked about.
Engagement,
Why? Because there's still the problems offline have migrated online. So yun nga, yung guns, and gold, yung
may version din pala siya online.
Yes, so I don't think we could harbor a fantasy about social media as very different. Being tools, it depends on the user, on who uses it.
Yeah.
So if right now certain candidates use it to disinform, that's bad.
Yes, of course.
If the better candidates, however we define better, don't make full use of social media, that's a problem. So ang kailangan malinaw yun, hindi magic bullet yung social media. You still have to have a message that would animate the public. Sa ngayon, wala pang bagong narratives eh.
Parang sinasabi mo, it can make or break a candidate, di ba?
Yes, maybe online.
Yes.
Maybe online.
Tanungin natin si PJ. PJ is a first-time voter. So anong mga ginagamit mo sa social media?
Well, usually there are the basics, the
Oo.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but now it's a different ball game. I could say that the traditional political playbook is turned upside down already. In fact, I personally am targeted by several candidates, for example, through the use of Facebook ads, which has,
Yes.
for example, geographical targeting, or even by the means that the pages that I like, or even by the people that I'm connected with. And now, as a first-time voter, there's obviously this overwhelming amount of information that's trying to compete for my attention as a millennial, especially given that I'm a first-time voter, and that I think there should be a way, there should be a means by which people at my age, for example, can comprehend
Yeah.
particular political policies. And now you can see that, for example, in terms of the content they're creating, it uses particular language that we use. That's why, for example, a chunk of, in the 2016 elections, a chunk of the voters that voted for the president currently right now is made up of young people who are, for example, who are well-versed in social media. But the language used was, for example, memes, or even
Okay.
posts, or even content that we as millennials would appreciate, not through the traditional language of politics, but through more witty, more content, user-directed content in social media.
The COMELEC is estimating na ngayon will have about 61 million registered voters, pero one-third daw are millennials 18 to 35 years old. So talagang posibleng tinatarget ng
Yes.
politicians yung mga tulad mo. You're saying na parang mga gumagamit ng memes. Even in traditional, yung mga commercials, nakikita ko parang medyo youthful yung dating ng mga ibang nag-advertise na ngayon eh. Kasi tinatarget talaga yung... So is that really a factor, being millennials are like one-third of the...
The millennials, if we rely on the actual definition, they've actually voted. They'll be voting for the second, third time this year. So yung millennials, hindi na to bata. Botante na sila, at in many cases, they are also candidates. So it should not come as a surprise. But I'd like to focus on digital. When we say election is digital, or the triumph of digital, it doesn't just refer to social media, social networking. In many countries, when we say digital, the political parties are able to identify their supporters, organize them online and offline, so that when election day comes, they will be able to convert their support into actual votes.
So that's like using emails or
Yes,
yung mga ganon.
databases,
Yeah.
etc. That didn't happen in 2016.
Here in the Philippines.
Yes,
Oo.
and there's no indication that any candidate is doing that. So I'm not so sure how the 2016 elections was labeled as the first digital elections, because it's
More
just
of
not
social
true.
media elections. Siguro isang trend na nakita natin kasi, kunyari, di ba, we have the traditional forms, like we hosted debates, and kami sa CNN Philippines, we had the vice presidential debates.
Yes.
And then we linked it with Facebook Live and then with Twitter. Nung time na yun, alam mo ba, nung VP debate, we had 2,700 tweets per minute. So ganun ka-active.
That's a triumph of CNN and the other networks that hosted the debates.
Yes.
But for example, if social media is truly available to voters and to grassroots candidates with their own issues, I didn't see that in the 2016 elections. It's just the media reporting,
Right.
the candidates pitching. The voters didn't have a say. They didn't have a direct say on, for example, who chose the candidates. Who chose the candidates? It's just themselves and the parties. So, for example, the political parties and the candidates could have joined primaries, both online and offline. So we could have a more democratic way of selecting
Parang
the
evening
candidates.
out
But it
playing
was left to
field.
the president or the leader of the opposition.
Yes.
So it's just the same as before. Sayang yung
Dinidikta
sayang
pa rin
digital.
ng parties kung sino yung...
Yes, sayang
mga
digital.
kandidato.
So at the end of the day, voters would just have this ceremonial duty of going to the polls. Yari na lahat. Pwede mag-react ang public.
Yes.
Pwede talaga siyang gumamit ng social media to send questions to media and to the candidates. But that's that's quite limited. Yung nalilimitahan, yung kayang gawin at dapat magawa ng public to participate fully in the electoral process.
Pero kasi ngayon, like, chinek na aming research, no, at 61 out of 62 candidates actually have Facebook pages. So they're using that platform. Ikaw ba, as a Facebook user, first-time voter, naghahanap ka ba? Gusto mo bang makaalam ng detalye about the candidates through Facebook? Do you actually do that?
I think we're underscoring the role that social media or even the digital campaign played in the elections. In fact, we can take a look at, for example, the political landscape we're in right now, where you have you can see patterns of orchestrated trolling or orchestrated fake accounts that Facebook was put under scrutiny in, and that personally for me, for example, it's very overwhelming to enter a political landscape wherein now there are several things that are competing for my attention, and then now as a millennial, I am now easily as persuaded. In fact, I think in the 2016 elections, the reason why it was called the first digital election wasn't necessarily because I, as an individual, was able to do something in social media, but social media was able to influence my ideology, how I perceive particular things. That's why you have Mocha Uson, for example, having enough political capital in order to run for Congress right now, or even several influencers that are now recruited by particular political personalities in order for them to use it for their interests.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that, okay? We'll continue this discussion after a quick break. On the record, we'll be right back. Welcome back to On the Record. Our topic, social media and the elections. And we're talking about yung influence ng social media, expected influence, especially in this 2019 midterm polls. And we'll be talking to the COMELEC. Is James Jimenez on the line? Sir?
Hello, good evening po.
Yes, sir. For the first time, no, dun sa rules and regulations for the campaign, this covers social media. Bakit kailangan nakasama ang regulation of social media?
Nakita po natin ang epekto ng social media sa 2016. Nakita natin ang lawak ng kanyang impluensya at ang kakayanan niya na mag-impluensya ng mga botante. At nakita din natin na dito binubuhos ng mga kandidato ang kanilang gastos ngayon sa halalan. Especially nitong pasok ng 2019, nakita ng mga kandidato kung gaano ka-effective ang social media. Ang tendency ngayon ay ipinapasok sa social media yung mga advertising expenses nila. Ang problema po dyan, ang social media ay hindi regulated. Kung hindi siya regulated, ibig sabihin makakapagtago sila ng gastos dyan nang hindi nila kailangan i-report sa SOSE. Sa tinagal-tagal po natin nagre-require ng SOSE, wala pa pong social media related expenses na nai-report sa atin. Ever since 2010 medyo may social media na rin naman eh. But even then, from 2010 hanggang ngayon, wala pa pong social media related expenses na nire-report. So, kung nakikita natin na marami ang potential na gagastusin sa social media sa 2017 at sa 2019 at wala tayong regulation, medyo flat-footed naman po tayo nun. So kaya kami naglabas ng regulasyon ngayon.
So how will this go? Kasi what I saw was yung mainly they have to register yung kanilang mga websites and stuff like that. And then, but how will you monitor the expenses?
Meron po tayong kakayanan na malaman ang lahat ng ads na inilabas para sa kandidato. So alam natin kung aling mga kandidato ang gumamit halimbawa ng boosted post. Makikita natin 'yan. At dahil ang boosting ay possible only if you have a page, then malalaman din natin saan nanggaling yung perang pang-boost, kung kaninong account. Kaya po natin i-require yung mga kandidato na magbigay ng kanilang social media pages para alam natin saan tayo magsisimulang tumingin. Pero gayon pa man, kahit na wala kang nilista sa aming URL, malalaman pa rin po natin kasi nga meron tayong ability to check the ad spend of the candidates after the elections. So yung listahan na yon pwede natin ibangga sa kanilang social media, sa kanilang SOSE kung saan i-claim nila kung magkano ang ginastos nila for social media advertising.
But it's like a big world out there. I mean, the internet, the
Right.
social media. How hindi ba siya mahirap? Especially what if yung supporters nila will pay for it or will sponsor the
Right.
websites?
Again, we're not looking at individuals, so we're only looking at published ads. So kung yung published ads, ma-identify natin lahat yan, we can work our way back to who spent for it. No? So we don't have to keep track of individual supporters and say, aha, ngayon naglabas ka, bukas naglabas ka. Hindi. At the end of the whole process, titingnan natin ano yung mga lumabas na ads. And since meron pong record sa mga sa mga social platforms niyan, makukuha natin yung records na yon at yun ang magiging basihan natin for determining magkano ang nagastos.
So this will mean na parang you can get stuff from details from Facebook, magsasubmit sila sa inyo, Twitter.
Yes po.
Yeah.
Required po sila na mag-submit sa amin ng validated report tungkol sa spending online.
Okay. But on the other side, aside from yung expenses, how will you counter yung negative, impacts also of the use of social media with the trolls and with the, negative or fake news and
we're not out to solve anything. Certainly, very limited din lang yung goal natin dito. We want to monitor campaign spending, particularly with regard to content production and content promotion. We're not out to solve the problem of fake news. No, again, the COMELEC believes that social media regulation is a broad topic and should properly be addressed by Congress in its entirety. Ang sa amin, focus namin ngayon yung kaya naming i-monitor at kaya nating i-address, and that is spending.
Okay. Pero in terms of yung content, syempre wala na rin kayong control over that. Even the negative ads, oo, no? But in terms of more of siguro on voters' education, is there also an online effort on the side naman of the COMELEC to promote naman education?
We are online. We are online, and we in fact have on-the-air voter education with our radio program, which is also broadcast on social. So, meron po tayong mga efforts to educate the voters. Ongoing naman po yan.
Okay. Tanong ko lang yung ating mga guests dito sa studio. Tonyo, yung sinasabi ng COMELEC, do you think that will work in terms of yung looking at the expenses?
That would work.
On social media?
Yes. Tulong natin to sa COMELEC. The COMELEC should try its best to sit down in dialogue with the media buying agencies, with the advertising, PR, and marketing agencies, because they're the ones enlisted to produce and place these advertisements online and offline. So that's another track that the COMELEC should look into. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng nasa Facebook lang at Twitter yung kakausapin niya. Pumunta na tayo dun sa parang TV ads. You could ask the advertiser, but you could also ask the advertising outlet how much in money's going in from advertisers. So tingnan yun, mahalaga matingnan yun. Tapos humingi yung COMELEC ng tulong sa publiko. Sana mabilis na makagawa yung COMELEC ng paraan na tumanggap ng reports at maimbestigahan nila yon. Kasi yung mga kababayan naman natin aware dun sa maraming election laws eh.
Yes.
At halimbawa, nagpapadala sila ng picture ng mga iba-ibang mga illegal campaign posters. So pwede ring mangyari yan online.
I don't know how this works. James is still with us ba, no?
Yes.
Kasi yung sa PCIJ report, sinabi na gumagamit na rin daw ng influencers or people to boost the reach and airtime. Paano i-cover? How does that work, Tonyo? And on the part of the COMELEC, paano i-cover yun?
Well, the COMELEC could sit down with the candidates and ask them, saan pa ba kayo nag-spend? You have to disclose all election-related
Even the
expenses.
influencers.
So, for example, if you hire a band, if you hire an ambassador or endorser, and you pay them, that's an election expense, and that should be reported. And it is, yun nga
Yung boosting, how do you do that?
yung boosting, yun, makikita yun sa Facebook kasi Facebook could submit to COMELEC some reports. But yun nga, we would like COMELEC to be able to identify yung mga areas kung saan nag-spend yung candidate. So malaking bagay yan. There has been a senatorial candidate who has spent money for influencers for the past few months. lalaki ba yun o hindi ngayong official campaign period na? We have to ask the candidate.
So James, covered ba yung mga ganon, yung mga boosting, yung mga influencers na binabayaran? Is there a way?
It's actually already in our regulation that advertisers have to submit their reports to the COMELEC. No? Kailangan sila mag-submit ng mga kontrata nila. So alam natin kung sino kasi nagre-report na sila. Ngayon, merong mga ninja dyan, may mga guerrilla na spending dyan. Yun ang kailangan natin mag-employ ng means of discovery. No? But in general, especially for the legit candidates and the legit operators, meron tayong requirement for their contractors, their campaign contractors, to submit all contracts to the COMELEC. And this will cover the bulk of the spending. This includes, point of fact, this includes social media associates. Yan ang tawag namin dun sa kategorya ng mga tao na ang trabaho is basically to influence public discussion through engagement. So that thing is yung social media associates. That's basically a spectrum, no? On the legitimate and perhaps super honorable end, you have your influencers, the digital influencers, and then on the other end of the spectrum, the maybe not so legit end, nandiyan yung mga troll.
Yeah.
But in either case, kahit saan ka dyan sa spectrum na yan, if you perform services for the candidate or for the campaigns, you will be required, or the candidate will be required to disclose yung spending made for you or made to you, yung binayad sa'yo for the campaign.
And they have to submit a formal report, no? After the elections. Okay, thanks. Thank you very much to COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez. We're taking another break. On the record, we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking about social media and the elections. Kanina, PJ, as a first-time voter, you mentioned na ang dami-dami ng proliferate na ads and then targeted to you and even the
particular
trolls.
Demographics.
Yeah. Is there, for a millennial, for you, is there a way na you can actually distinguish kung trolls ba ito or fake websites or?
Well, to be honest, no. There's no currently. This election is a test with regards to our digital literacy, with our online literacy, especially to my age bracket, given that right now, even if we are now aware that fake news is proliferating and there's the existence of trolls and even particular external actors that might affect and influence our decisions, there's still no sure way for my age bracket or for people like us, for first-time voters, to differentiate whether or not what's fake news or not. In fact, it's heavily contingent on the capacity of the individual to be critical. And that's us being generous already. Obviously, not everyone has that same capacity to discern what is real or not, especially when fake news has elements of sensationalism, especially you create the comment section as a battleground, for example, and now it's not anymore necessarily about civil and critical discourse. It's now about a personal attack on someone else or a personal attack on your emotionality.
Especially yung comment section, ano?
Yes.
So yun na, Tonyo, ganun na nga eh. So sila, they're faced with that, yung mga parang medyo vicious na mga trolls. And how can you use social media as, to empower the voters? Kasi especially yung mga hindi naman kayang magbayad ng political ads, they can also, yung mga candidates, they can also use that, diba, to communicate their platform.
Pero mag-akla ko sa sinabi ni PJ, hindi naman ganun kalaking problema.
Okay.
Wala naman tayong fake newscast eh. Our people still refer to news outlets for their news. 5 of the top 20 websites in the Philippines are news websites. The fake news peddlers don't have a newscast. They don't have a newspaper. And there have been surveys up until 2018 that Filipinos still trust their journalists. So, as far as fake is concerned, it is a problem, but it is not an overwhelming problem facing the public. We still have CNN. We still have the many networks. So, dun pa rin nag-refer yung mga tao sa balita. At magandang bagay yun. Kung paano nalabanan yung fake news, depende yan sa ating lahat. Maganda halimbawa, may check.ph na binuo yung media sa ka-academe Maganda yan, I agree with them. Pero sana mag-buy-in yung mga kandidato, mag-buy-in ang administrasyon at ang oposisyon. Kasi mamamalat tayo sa kakasabi na fake news yan kung hindi sila mag-agree. So, halimbawa, yung check PH, if a fact check yung isang kandidato, pero kung yung kandidato ayaw niya dun sa check PH, di ba? Problema.
So anong pwedeng gawin ng voters to use social media na, positively para mas maging informed sila for the elections? Suriin mismo yung mga
elections
websites.
We make individual choices.
Okay.
But it is a national exercise. It is an organized, collective national exercise. So we cannot do it alone. We have to ask our friends, our family for help. Ang gusto kong point out dito, we have to form organizations. We have to organize ourselves. The politicians are organized. They have coalitions and alliances. They have troll armies. They're very organized. They want to deceive you, harass you, influence you to vote in one way. So voters cannot act alone. And we have to organize ourselves.
Okay. And last na lang, anong gusto mo bang makita sa mga social media sites for the elections?
Well, I think social media sites, if ever we would want to be successful in terms of educating people or even targeting or influencing how they think, it should be centered on a content by which that speaks the same language. So, for example, it's you market a content that's specifically catered to a particular demographic, say at this age, and then it's based on this interest. So,
and maybe more of issues that will concern them.
Yeah, especially. And given that right now, I actually think now we're underestimating the presence of fake news. I think it's a big problem, especially for current news established agencies, current news establishments right now, and that if ever the truth defenders would want to effectively combat fake news, then it should be able to use the same language and sensationalization that fake news peddlers or trollers have.
And thank you very much to our guests. That's On the Record this week. I'm Ruth Cabal. Thank you for watching.
More of digital now, since most of the candidates have their own respective digital teams.
The concern there was not so much what they said on social media, but in how much money they could hide in social media.